sleep voyager. Imagine a world composed entirely of breath and verdant shadow, an ancient cathedral of green that breathes in the stillness of centuries. The air here hangs thick and suspended like warm velvet against the skin, holding you in a humid embrace that feels both vast and intimate. This is an eternal river of life, a bioluminescent twilight where time slows down to the rhythm of falling rain, and you are small, safe, and held within its weightless depth. Tonight we do not hike through the undergrowth, rather, we dissolve into the mist that rises gently from the river's surface. There is no map to follow, no destination to reach, only the gentle, rhythmic journey of drifting downstream into the canopy's heart. Just as the great trees root themselves deep into the soft earth, allow your own body to find that same immovable stillness. Feel the profound heaviness of your head sinking deeper into the pillow as naturally as water settling into the soil. Notice your jaws often, perhaps even releasing completely, letting the day's tension fade into the humid air. And now, your eyelids become heavy curtains, sealing out the world, leaving you safe in the velvet dark. Let's begin. The mist rises slowly from the deep green canopy, touching the sky. Here, the air is thick with a gentle moisture, suspended in an eternal pause between the leaves and the light. Every leaf is coated in a fine, invisible dew that gathers slowly, drop by patient drop, until it becomes too heavy to hold on. The forest breathes in a quiet rhythm, a slow inhalation of vapor that softens the edges of the world. Imagine yourself floating just above the treetops, where the vibrant emerald green fades into a soft, hazy white. You can feel the cool weight of the air settling on your skin, a comforting blanket of humidity that slows your heartbeat. The light here is diffused, scattered by the mist into a glowing, weightless aura that wraps around everything. There is no urgency in this drift, only the ancient cycle of water turning to air. It is a reminder that in this vast stillness, the world continues to breathe peacefully while you rest. Ancient roots weave through the earth in a silent, subterranean embrace. Beneath the towering trees, the ground is soft and giving, a deep carpet of moss and shadow where time seems to dissolve into nothingness. The soil is cool and damp, holding the secrets of centuries in its dark, patient grasp. Light rarely touches this place, filtered down through layers of green until it is just a faint, ghostly shimmer on the forest floor. Picture the massive, tangled roots stretching out like sleeping giants, anchoring the world in place. They are motionless and heavy, sinking deeper into the earth with every passing moment. You can smell the rich scent of wet earth and old wood, a fragrance that feels safe and eternal. There is a profound silence here, broken only by the sound of a falling leaf drifting slowly down. It is a reminder that you are supported by something strong and unchanging, allowing you to let go completely. Dark water moves endlessly forward, carving a path through the dense jungle. The river is wide and smooth, a surface of obsidian glass that reflects the clouds drifting lazily overhead. There is no struggle in this movement, only a ceaseless, fluid journey toward the horizon. The water is warm and heavy, carrying fallen branches and floating seeds in a slow, hypnotic procession. Imagine drifting on this vast, quiet waterway, your body weightless and cradled by the gentle current. The shores are lined with walls of green, but here in the center, there is only the open sky and the rhythmic lapping of water against the drift. The colors are deep and soothing, shades of midnight blue and coffee merging into a seamless flow. Every ripple smooths itself out, returning to perfect stillness. It is a reminder that there is no need to steer or control, for the current will carry you safely to where you need to be. Rain begins to fall, tapping a soft rhythm against the broad leaves. The sound is a constant, gentle drumbeat that echoes through the trees, creating a cocoon of white noise that blocks out everything else. Droplets slide down the glossy surfaces of the vegetation, tracing paths that have been followed a million times before. The heat of the day is washed away, replaced by a fresh, cool breeze that smells of water and life. Picture the forest transforming under the rain, the colors deepening into saturated greens and shadowy tea lusts. You are sheltered beneath the canopy, dry and warm, listening to the world being cleansed. The rhythm is hypnotic, a steady pitter-patter that invites your eyes to close and your mind to drift away. Everything is softened by the falling water, blurring the lines between the earth and the air. It is a gentle reminder that nature washes away all tension, leaving only a pure and quiet peace in its wake. Night descends slowly, wrapping the forest in a velvet layer of darkness. The vibrant greens fade into shadows, and the air cools, settling into a heavy, comfortable stillness. In this quiet void, tiny points of light begin to emerge, hidden stars waking up within the undergrowth. The forest hums with a low, invisible vibration, a lullaby sung by the night itself. Imagine seeing soft, bioluminescent blue glows flickering gently on the forest floor, mimicking the constellations in the sky above. You are surrounded by this gentle darkness, a vast and protected space where vision is unnecessary. The weight of the day dissolves into the shadows, leaving you floating in a sea of calm. The darkness is not empty, it is full of rest and the promise of renewal. It is a reminder that in the deepest dark, there is a profound safety that invites you to close your eyes and sleep. Thick vines climb slowly toward the light in a patient, eternal spiral. They are wrapped tightly around the ancient trunks, holding on with a strength that has been built over decades of slow growth. There is no movement that the eye can see, only the knowledge of a deep, persistent reach upwards. The bark beneath them is rough and weathered, hidden by the green embrace of the climbing plants. Every inch of the forest is connected by these tangled lines, a web of life that holds the canopy and the floor together in a silent bond. Imagine the slow, creeping progress of the vine, moving imperceptibly against the rough wood, inching upward without rush or effort. It is a journey measured not in minutes but years, steady and unyielding. The air around the vines is still and humid, preserving this slow embrace in a capsule of time. It is a reminder that progress can be invisible and slow, allowing you to rest in the certainty that everything happens in its own time. A ceiling of broad leaves blocks the sky, creating a sheltered sanctuary. High above, the canopy weaves itself together, leaf over leaf, branch over branch, until the open air is entirely hidden from view. A protected barrier is formed, separating the quiet world below from the vastness of the heavens above. The light that filters through this roof is dim and green, having touched 1,000 surfaces before reaching the ground. The heat of the sun is kept at bay, leaving only a comfortable warmth that stays trapped within the trees. Picture yourself lying back and looking up at this intricate mosaic of foliage, a natural roof that keeps you safe and enclosed. There are no gaps, only layers of green that overlap in a chaotic, beautiful harmony. The world outside feels very far away, unable to penetrate this dense shield. It is a reminder that you are covered and protected, safe to let your guard down within this secure and private space. White noise drifts from a hidden waterfall deep within the dense trees. The sound is a continuous, rushing hum that smooths over the silence, creating a backdrop of pure, liquid vibration. Water pours endlessly over moss-covered rocks, tumbling down into a dark, calm pool that absorbs the impact without a splash. The mist from the falls rises up to meet the leaves, keeping everything perpetually soft and damp. There is no beginning and no end to this flow. It is a constant presence that anchors the forest in a steady rhythm. Imagine the cool spray of the water touching your face, a refreshing mist that carries the scent of wet stone and clean air. The sound washes over your thoughts, washing away any distraction with its monotone power. The water moves so that you do not have to, obeying gravity in a simple, effortless descent. It is a gentle reminder that life flows on its own, and you can simply float along with the current. Soft velvet covers the stones and wood in a thick green layer. The moss is everywhere, growing in lush, rounded mounds that soften the hard edges of the forest floor. Sound is absorbed by this living carpet, making footsteps silent and voices muted, as if the forest itself is hushing the world. The texture is deep and spongy, holding water like a reservoir and releasing it slowly back into the air. Nothing here is sharp or rigid. Everything has been claimed by the softness of the moss, turned into a gentle curve of green. Picture reaching out to touch this damp, fuzzy surface, feeling your fingers sink slightly into the deep pile of the vegetation. It feels cool and giving a pillow provided by the earth itself. The color is a soothing, vibrant emerald that glows even in the shadows. It is a reminder that the world can be soft and yielding, offering a comfortable place for you to lay down your heavy burdens. Silver light filters through the dense foliage in scattered, glowing pools. The moon has risen above the canopy, sending thin beams of illumination down through the gaps in the leaves to touch the forest floor. These patches of light are still and ghostly, illuminating a single fern or a twisted root in stark relief against the surrounding darkness. The shadows are long and deep, stretching out to fill the spaces between the trees with a heavy, inky blackness. There is a coolness that comes with this light, a visual drop in temperature that calms the senses. Imagine watching a single beam of moonlight slowly shift across a leaf as the night progresses, a silent clock marking the passage of time. The light is not bright enough to wake you, but just enough to show the shapes of the dreamscape around you. It is a reminder that even in the dark, there is a gentle light guiding you toward a place of peace. The wind dies down completely, leaving the air heavy and perfectly still. Not a single leaf trembles in this vast, quiet space. The forest has entered a state of total suspension. The humidity hangs in the air, a physical weight that presses gently against the skin, slowing down movement and thought. It feels as though time itself has paused, holding its breath in the deep hours of the night. The silence is profound, a thick blanket that wraps around every tree and every stone, suppressing all noise. Picture a heavy palm frond hanging motionless in the dark, suspended in the vacuum of the night, waiting for nothing. The atmosphere is dense and comforting, like a warm bath that surrounds you completely. You are held in this stillness, fixed in a moment that stretches out forever. It is a reminder that there is nothing you need to do, for the world has stopped to let you rest. Consciousness begins to float like a seed carried on a gentle breeze. The boundaries of the forest begin to blur, the trees merging with the shadows in the mist into a single, soft gray expanse. The heavy details of the bark and the leaves fade away, leaving only the sensation of being held by the atmosphere. You are drifting deeper into the heart of the rainforest, moving without moving, sliding effortlessly into the quiet. The damp earthy scent becomes a memory, and the sound of the distant water becomes the rhythm of your own breathing. Imagine yourself dissolving into the mist, becoming weightless and formless, a part of the ancient cycle of the woods. There is no separation between you and the peace that surrounds you. You are one with the silence. The dark canopy above watches over you, a silent guardian for your journey into sleep. It is a reminder that you can let go of everything, drifting safely into the deep, restorative embrace of the night. A crystal droplet hangs heavily from the tip of a curved green leaf. It is gathered there over the course of the long, humid hours, collecting the invisible moisture from the air into a perfect heavy sphere. The surface of the water is smooth and tight, reflecting the dark world around it in a miniature, distorted image. Gravity pulls at it with a gentle, persistent tug, stretching the water downward in slow motion, waiting for the precise moment of release. The leaf bows slightly under this tiny weight, yielding to the burden of the water without resistance. Imagine watching this single drop suspended in time, holding its breath before it finally lets go. It falls through the silence, landing on the soft moss below with no sound, absorbed instantly by the earth. It is a reminder that you can hold on until you are ready, and then simply let go into the softness below. Shadows pool beneath the undergrowth like deep, dark water collecting in a basin. The light here has been filtered out completely, leaving only a soothing, cool, gray darkness that hugs the ground. It is a place where vision becomes unnecessary, and the eyes are invited to rest from the effort of seeing. The air in these shadowed pockets is still unancient, untouched by the wind that moves the treetops high above. The darkness feels physical, a soft fabric that wraps around the roots and the stones, smoothing over every detail until everything is a uniform shade of rest. Picture yourself sitting comfortably within this deep shade, feeling the coolness wrap around your shoulders like a heavy shawl. The world outside is bright and busy, but here there is only the comfort of the quiet. It is a gentle reminder that darkness is not empty, but a filled space where you are safe to close your eyes. A sleeping fern curls tightly into a perfect ancient spiral of green. It rests close to the ground, its fronds tucked inward in a protective, geometric embrace that has not changed for millions of years. There is a dormant energy here, a stillness that is patient and absolute, waiting for the slow unraveling that will happen over days and weeks. The fuzzy texture of the stalk catches the mist, holding droplets of water like tiny jewels against the plant. The spiral is a shape of infinite regression, drawing the mind inward toward a center of calm and quiet. Imagine racing the line of the coil with your eyes, following the curve round and round until you reach the motionless center. It suggests a turning inward, a withdrawal from the outer world into the safety of your own quiet space. It is a reminder that it is safe to curl up to protect your energy and to rest in a tight, comfortable stillness. Heavy vapor rises invisibly from the damp soil, sending the air with earth. The smell is rich and grounding, a mixture of wet wood, decaying leaves, and the sweet, heavy perfume of hidden blooms. It enters the lungs slowly, a thick and nourishing breath that slows down the heart. The forest is exhaling, releasing the heat of the day and replacing it with the cool, oxygen-rich air of the night. This is the breath of the planet, a slow and rhythmic cycle that supports all life without asking for anything in return. Picture the air entering your body as a cool blue mist, traveling deep into your chest and spreading a feeling of heavy relaxation through your lungs. With every exhale, you release a little more tension into the vast, absorbing atmosphere of the jungle. It is a gentle reminder that the world breathes for you and you can simply ride the rhythm of its ancient lungs. Nightfall and rests softly against the forest floor, returning slowly to the earth. It has lain here for decades, sinking deeper into the mud with every rain, its form softening and blurring into the landscape. Moss has claimed it completely, covering the rough bark in a thick, velvety layer of emerald green that feels cool to the touch. There is no sadness in this cycle, only a peaceful transition from strength to softness, from vertical to horizontal. The wood is sponge-like and damp, holding the moisture and providing a home for silence. Imagine laying your hand on this moss-covered log, feeling how solid yet soft it is, a perfect pillow crafted by nature. It demands nothing, it simply exists in a state of total, heavy surrender to gravity. It is a reminder that there is a time to stand tall, and a time to lay down and let the earth support your full weight. Night blooming flowers hang heavy on their stems, opening slowly to the dark. They are waxy and pale, glowing faintly in the shadows like small, suspended moons amidst the foliage. Their petals unfurl with a beautifully slow grace, releasing a subtle, hypnotic fragrance that hangs low in the humid air. These flowers do not seek the sun, they are creatures of the quiet hours, blooming only when the forest is asleep. They droop slightly under their own weight, a posture of total relaxation and ease. Picture the smooth, cool texture of a flower petal, perfect and unblemished, resting against the dark green of the leaves. The sight is calming, a vision of delicate beauty that exists only for the night and the silence. It suggests a softness that overcomes the hardness of the day. It is a reminder that beauty and peace can bloom in the darkest hours, waiting for you to find them in your dreams. The jungle floor feels magnetic, pulling everything down into a deep slumber. Gravity seems stronger here, amplified by the density of the trees and the heaviness of the air. Your limbs feel weightless yet incredibly heavy, as if the earth itself is asking you to join its stillness. The distinction between your body and the forest floor begins to dissolve. You are sinking, drifting, merging with the ancient roots in the soft soil. There is no desire to move, only a compelling need to remain exactly where you are, held in this perfect moment of rest. Imagine that you are a stone sinking slowly through a deep, dark pool, moving past the water, past the plants, settling softly into the sand at the bottom. The silence is absolute, a heavy blanket that covers you completely. It is a reminder that you are anchored and safe, held fast by the world, free to drift into the deepest sleep. Pale shells of fungus cling to the ancient bark in a silent, motionless climb. They are hard and cool to the touch, layered like the pages of a stone book that will never be read. There is no movement here, only a growth so slow that it exists outside the perception of time. These rigid fans bracket the tree rocks, collecting the falling dust in the shadows in their deep, curved lips. They are the color of cream and old parchment, standing out faintly against the dark, wet wood of the host. Imagine racing the smooth, matte surface of a shelf, feeling the cool resistance in the hard texture that has endured for years. It is a statuette of life held in perfect stillness, anchored securely to the strong vertical line of the tree. The forest around it breathes that these forms remain absolute and unchanging. It is a reminder that you can be still and solid, unaffected by the shifting world around you. A hidden pool sits perfectly still, undisturbed by any current or wind. The water is dark and thick, a surface of black obsidian that captures the stillness of the trees above in a flawless reflection. No ripple breaks this mirror. It is a void that absorbs the light and holds it deep within its depths. The banks are muddy and soft, blurring the line between the land and the water, but the center of the pool is a perfect circle of calm. Leaves that fall onto the surface simply rest there, floating without drifting, held in a suspended state of waiting. Picture looking into this dark glass, seeing not your own face, but the depth of the night sky and the silhouette of the canopy. The water is heavy and cool, a reservoir of peace that has gathered over centuries of rain. It is a gentle reminder that your mind can be this clear and this still, reflecting only the quiet peace of the present moment. White seeds float suspended in the thick, humid air like tiny stars. They have been released from a high pond, and now they drift without direction, caught in the invisible density of the atmosphere. They are weightless, turning slowly in the faint light, navigating the space between the massive trunks. There is no destination for these travelers. They are simply existing in the space between the earth and the sky. The air is so still that they seem to hover in place, defying gravity through sheer lightness. Imagine watching a single, fluffy seed drift past your line of sight, moving in slow motion against the dark green background of the leaves. It creates a hypnotic path, a lazy spiral that draws the eye and calms the mind. It demands no effort to watch, only a soft focus that blurs the edges of your vision. It is a reminder that you can let go of all weight and simply float, carried by the gentle breath of the world. The canopy bows its head as the vegetation enters a state of deep sleep. During the day, the leaves reach upward for the sun, but now, in the darkness, they relax their posture and fold downward. The tension of holding up against gravity is released, and the entire forest sighs, letting its arms drop by its sides. This is a physical transformation, a visible softening of the landscape as the plants prioritize rest over growth. The broad leaves hang vertically, shielding the stem and closing off the world. Picture the forest around you literally relaxing, the green shapes changing from rigid platforms to soft, hanging drakes. You are surrounded by a billion living things that are all doing the same thing, resting. The energy of the jungle is turned inward, conserving itself for the void. It is a reminder that it is natural and necessary to lay down your defenses and sink into a posture of total relaxation. Coolness seeps from the ground, displacing the heavy heat of the day. It rises like a slow tide, a physical wave of relief that washes over the skin and settles into the lungs. The humidity, once warm and oppressive, now turns into a refreshing, crisp vapor that smells of clean water and stone. This temperature shift is the forest's way of tucking you in, providing a heavy, cooling blanket that signals the body to slow down. The shadows seem to hold this cold air, keeping it trapped near the floor where you rest. Imagine feeling this cool air touching your forehead, soothing away any lingering thoughts or heat. The edge feels like the flip side of a pillow, fresh and calming against your cheek. The balance is restored, and the environment becomes perfectly tuned for hibernation. It is a reminder that the world will always adjust to provide you with comfort, cooling you down so you can rest deeply. Colors drain away slowly, leaving the world in shades of soft gray and black. The vibrant emeralds and bright flowers have faded into the shadows, simplifying the world into basic shapes and silhouettes. The eyes are no longer needed to distinguish details. The visual noise of the day has been turned down to zero. This monochromatic landscape is restful, removing the stimulation of color and leaving only the texture of the night. The darkness smooths over the rough edges, blending the trees into the sky and the ground into the air. Picture the green leaking out of the leaves, replaced by a soothing, velvety charcoal that absorbs the light. You are left in a world that is soft to the look and soft to the touch. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to analyze. It is a reminder that you can close your eyes, for the visual world has gone to sleep, and you are free to follow it. The earth embraces you, pulling you into a cocoon of total safety. You are no longer a visitor in this place. You are part of the forest floor, rooted and held by the soil. The layers of wood, leaf, and mist close in around you, not to trap you, but to shield you from the vastness of the universe. The outside world ceases to exist, replaced entirely by the immediate sensation of heaviness and warmth. You are nestled deep in the heart of the Amazon, a seed resting in the dark, waiting for nothing. Imagine the sensation of heavy roots wrapping gently around your legs, grounding you to the core of the planet. You are heavy, sinking, dissolving into the ancient rhythm of the tectonic plates. There's only the silence, the dark, and the weight. It is a final reminder that you are safe to let go of everything, drifting into the deep, restorative peace of a perfect, dreamless sleep. A thick resin moves slowly deep within the ironwood trunks. This golden sap is the lifeblood of the forest, flowing with a viscosity so dense that it barely moves at all, a liquid suspended in time. It travels through the dark veins of the wood, hidden from the light, carrying nutrients in a rhythmic, sluggish pace that matches the rotation of the earth. The bark that holds it is hardened and impenetrable, a fortress keeping this slow movement safe and secret. Imagine seeing the amber liquid moving inch by inch inside the tree, a glowing river of honey held in the dark. It is warm and heavy, sliding effortlessly through the channels of the wood without ever rushing. The movement is so subtle it feels like stillness, a state of being rather than doing. It is a reminder that your own energy can slow down, flowing thickly and calmly toward a place of deep rest. Intricate veins trace a map across the underside of a broad leaf. The surface is a pale matte green, a soft contrast to the glossy top that faces the sky. These tiny channels branch out like a river delta, dividing and subdividing until they disappear into the microscopic texture of the plant. Everything is connected in this delicate grid, a system of support that holds the leaf open to the air. The light that filters through from above reveals the skeleton in a faint, translucent glow, turning the leaf into a pane of stained glass. Picture yourself tracing these lines with your eyes, getting lost in the endless fractals of the green design. The pattern is predictable and soothing, a geometry of nature that requires no solution. It is a simple, repetitive structure that exists only to be. It is a reminder that you are supported by a complex, invisible network that holds you up while you rest. Silver threads of a web hang motionless between the ferns. The silk is incredibly fine, invisible until the moonlight catches it, turning it into a suspended net of glowing lines. It is laden with tiny beads of moisture, heavy pearls of water that weigh the web down into a gentle curve. There is no spider here and no struggle. The web is simply a part of the architecture, a temporary structure built of lightness and water. It withstands the humidity and the gravity, floating in the space between the leaves like a still thought. Imagine the fragility of these threads, yet they do not break. They simply hang there, accepting the weight of the dew with perfect grace. The air around them is still and calm, disturbing nothing. It is a reminder that you can be fragile and soft and still find a perfect, suspended balance in the quiet. That's what forms the solid pillars of the surrounding silence. The trunks of the mahogany trees are massive and unyielding, cylinders of compressed time that have stood in this exact spot for centuries. The wood is so hard it feels like stone, a density that absorbs the vibrations of the forest and grounds them into the earth. Layers of growth rings are hidden inside, circles of history that mark the passage of wet seasons and dry seasons in a permanent record. Imagine leaning your full weight against one of these trunks, feeling the absolute solidity of the tree supporting you. It does not sway, it does not bend. It is a fixed point in a moving world, a monument to patience and endurance. The bark is rough against your skin, a tactile anchor that keeps you connected to the physical world. It is a reminder that there is a strength greater than your own that you can lean on completely. A low frequency hum vibrates through the humid air. It is not a sound you hear with your ears, but a sensation you feel in your chest, the collective breathing of a billion living things. The insects, the leaves, and the soil create a white noise that acts as a sonic blanket, muffling any sharp or sudden sounds. This drone is constant and flat, a hypnotic baseline that creates a wall of privacy around your mind. It smooths out the silence, filling the quiet with a thick, comforting texture of sound. Picture this sound as a soft, gray wave that rolls over you, smoothing down the edges of your thoughts. It is the sound of the planet sleeping, a resonant frequency that aligns with your own slowing heartbeat. The forest is singing a lullaby of static, a monotone song of peace. It is a reminder that the world is never truly silent, but hums with a gentle presence that keeps you company. The air pressure settles heavily, creating a feeling of buoyancy. The humidity is so high that the atmosphere feels almost fluid, a thick medium that supports your movements and slows them down. Raising an arm feels like moving through warm water. Every gesture is cushioned and resisted by the density of the air. This heaviness is not oppressive, but comforting, like being swaddled in many layers of soft fabric. The temperature and the moisture lock together to form a seal against the outside, keeping the environment stable and unchanging. Imagine that you are floating at the bottom of a sea of air, weightless and drifting in the current of the humidity. The air holds you up, taking the burden of gravity away from your muscles. You are suspended in this thick, invisible ocean. It is a reminder that you are held by the environment, allowed to float freely without effort or strain. Final darkness wraps the forest in a cloak of absolute velvet. The last gray shapes of the trees had dissolved into the black, erasing the boundaries between objects. There is no longer a here there, only a vast, unified field of rest. The visual world has shut down completely, signaling to the brain that there is nothing left to process. The darkness is soft, warm, and infinite, a deep well that invites you to sink further down. Imagine your consciousness spreading out like mist, thinning and merging with this velvety blackness until you are everywhere and nowhere. You are safe in this quiet, hidden from all demands and all light. The forest keeps watch so you do not have to. It is a final, gentle reminder that you can turn off the lights of your mind and surrender completely to the deep, healing sleep that awaits. Layers of fallen leaves form a deep, soft quilt over the earth. Brown, copper, and gold mix together in a silent tapestry of softening that covers the forest floor in a thick, protective net. These leaves have finished their journey from the sky, drifting down one by one to settle into this comfortable, horizontal rest. The ground beneath them is spongy and yielding, absorbing every footstep and muffling every sound until the forest is perfectly quiet. There is a rich, musky scent of peat and damp wood that rises from this layer, a smell that signals the slow, patient work of the earth. Imagine lying back on this natural bed, feeling the layers of time cushioning your body from the hard ground below. The leaves are cool and damp, molding themselves to your shape in a gentle embrace. It is a reminder that everything eventually returns to a place of rest, and you are supported by the history of the forest. Smooth stones rest motionless at the edge of the dark river. They have been polished by the endless flow of water over centuries, their rough edges worn down into perfect, rounded curve. They are cool to the touch, heavy and solid, anchored deeply in the mud and sand of the bank. The water laps against them in a gentle, rhythmic cadence, washing over their surfaces and retreating in a cycle that never ends. There is no resistance in these stones. They simply allow the water to move around them, existing in a state of permanent stillness. Picture a single, gray stone glistening with moisture, sitting perfectly still while the river rushes past. It holds its ground without effort, a heavy monument to patience in a moving world. It is a reminder that you can remain still and centered, letting the currents of the world flow past you without sweeping you away. An air plant hangs, suspended from a high branch, touching nothing but the mist. It has no roots in the heavy earth, but draws everything it needs directly from the humid atmosphere around it. It floats in the space between the canopy and the floor, a light and airy presence that defies gravity. The leaves are pale and silver green, covered in tiny, soft hairs that trap the moisture from the air. There is a sense of total freedom in this existence, a life lived without the need to hold on tightly to anything. Imagine hovering like this plant, weightless and unattached, nourished simply by breathing in the cool, damp air. You are drifting in the green void, supported by the invisible density of the jungle. It is a reminder that you do not need to struggle or grasp to be safe. You can simply exist and let the environment provide for you. Clouds descend slowly to touch the forest floor in a silent white embrace. The distinction between the sky and the earth vanishes, replaced by a thick, swirling fog that softens every outline. The trees become ghostly shapes, tall pillars fading into the white nothingness as they rise. The air inside the cloud is cool and incredibly fresh, comprised of millions of microscopic droplets that cling to your skin. Sound cannot travel through this dense vapor. It is dampened and absorbed, creating a private, insulated bubble of silence. Picture the white mist strolling over the ferns and the moss, blurring the sharp edges of reality until everything is smooth and dreamlike. You are wrapped in a cloud, hidden away from the world in a soft, white room. It is a gentle reminder that the world can soften and fade away, leaving you in a quiet space where nothing is required of you. Green bamboos stand in vertical silence, waiting for the wind. They are tall and hollow, segmented chambers of air that reach straight up toward the hidden moon. In the stillness of the night, they do not sway, they stand like sentinels of peace, creating a grid of straight lines against the chaotic jungle. The smooth, hard skin of the bamboo is cool and polished, repelling the water and reflecting a faint ambient light. There is a hollow resonance to these plants, a capacity to hold space and silence within their very structure. Imagine walking through a grove of these motionless giants, feeling the sense of order and upright rest they project. They are flexible yet strong, currently at rest in the breathless air. It is a reminder that you can be strong and grounded, standing tall in your own quiet stillness without needing to move or act. The darkness is tinted with a deep, living emerald glow. Even in the absence of the sun, the sheer volume of chlorophyll in the forest creates a sensation of being submerged in green water. It is not a black void, but a rich, saturated darkness that feels alive and vibrant. The eyes adjust to this low light, perceiving the forest not as shapes, but as different densities of shadow. The air feels thick and heavy, like the pressure of the ocean depths, holding you in a suspended state of buoyancy. Picture the heavy, dark green leaves pressing in from all sides, creating a natural, breathable wall that separates you from the open sky. You are deep inside the lungs of the world, bathed in the color of life and rest. It is a reminder that the darkness is full of energy and protection, a deep green sea where you can float safely into sleep. Your consciousness begins to mirror the slow, dark flow of the river. Thoughts no longer hold their shape, they dissolve into the current, drifting downstream without direction or purpose. The mind becomes fluid, moving around obstacles with the easy grace of water, seeking the lowest point of rest. The banks of the river are far away, and you are in the center of the stream, carried by a force that is gentle but undeniable. The stars reflected on the surface of the water blur with the movement, turning into streaks of silver light that guide you into the dark. Imagine the sensation of melting into this liquid path, your body turning into water, flowing toward the vast, open ocean of sleep. There is no effort left, only the drift. It is a final reminder that you are part of this eternal flow, and you can trust the current to carry you to a place of perfect peace. A single orchid bloom hangs motionless in the heavy, humid air. It is suspended from a dark branch, a delicate masterpiece of nature that has opened slowly in the secrecy of the night. The petals are thick and waxy, cool to the touch and perfectly shaped, curving inward to protect the center of the flower. There's a faint, sweet perfume releasing from the bloom, a scent that is heavy enough to linger in the still atmosphere without drifting away. The flower is anchored securely, moving only when the branch sighs under the weight of the mist. Imagine the smooth, velvety texture of the petal against your fingertips, a sensation of absolute softness and cool reserve. The color is a deep, ghostly white that glows faintly in the shadows, a beacon of stillness. It exists merely to be beautiful in the dark, asking for no attention. It is a gentle reminder that you can simply be existing in your own quiet space without the need to do anything at all. A tiny pool of water rests within the cup of a broad green leaf. High in the canopy, the small reservoir has gathered the rain and the dew into a private miniature ocean. The water is crystal clear and perfectly still, untouched by the currents of the river far below. It cradles a few specks of dust in a single fallen seed, holding them in a suspended state of floating. The leaf creates a watertight bowl, a safe and enclosed vessel that protects this precious fluid from the heat of the day. Picture looking down into this small chalice of water, seeing a reflection of the dark branches above, trapped in its surface. It is a contained world, peaceful and complete in itself, asking for nothing from the outside. The water waits patiently for evaporation or overflow, content in the present moment. It is a reminder that you are held and contained, safe within the cupped hands of the world. A halo of pale light glows softly through the high mist. The moon is hidden behind a thick layer of clouds, but its presence is felt as a diffused, milky radiance that spreads across the sky. This light does not cast hard shadows. Instead, it softens the darkness, turning the black canopy into a landscape of deep charcoal and silver. The mist scatters the illumination, creating a glowing atmosphere that feels dreamlike and ethereal. The light touches the tops of the trees with a gentle caress, outlining the silhouette of the forest in a faint, shimmering red. Imagine lying back and watching this soft glow pulse slowly with the movement of the clouds, a breathing light that watches over the jungle. It is not bright enough to wake you, but just enough to comfort you. It is a reminder that even when the source is hidden, a gentle light remains to guide you through the dark. Massive roots lift the earth to form a dark, quiet shelter. At the base of the giant kapok tree, the wooden buttresses flare out like walls, creating a natural alcove protected from the wind and rain. The ground inside this hollow is dry and soft, carpeted with the dust of centuries in the shed bark of the tree. It smells of deep, rich soil and old wood, a fragrance of safety and home. The darkness here is absolute, a thick shadow that fills the space between the wooden walls. Picture curling up within this wooden cave, feeling the solid timber you back in the roof of roots above your head. You are hidden away from the vastness of the forest, tucked into a pocket of silence. The tree stands guard, an ancient sentinel that will not move. It is a reminder that you have a place of sanctuary where you can retreat and find total peace. Cool clay lines the riverbank in a smooth, seamless layer. The mud is soft and yielding, a malleable surface that has been smoothed flat by the endless passage of the water. It is cool to the touch, a refreshing balm that draws the heat out of the air and into the earth. There are no rocks or sharp edges here, only the sleek, slippery texture of wet earth that has settled over time. The river slides past this bank in a whisper, the water and the land meeting in a gentle, blurred line. Imagine sinking your hands into this cool, soft clay, feeling it mold perfectly to your skin, connecting you to the literal substance of the planet. It feels heavy and grounding, a substance that accepts any impression without resistance. It suggests a letting go of form, a return to the basics of the earth. It is a reminder that the earth is soft and ready to support you, absorbing all your tension into its cool depths. A steady rhythm pulses through the air from invisible sources. The night is filled with the collective hum of a million tiny lives, creating a sonic texture that is as thick as the humidity. This is not a noise that disturbs, it is a wall of sound that blocks out the sudden and the sharp. It is a drone, a chant, a continuous vibration that weaves through the trees and settles in the mind. The pitch is low and constant, a white noise that mimics the sound of static or heavy rain. Picture the sound as a physical blanket wrapping around your ears, muffling the internal dialogue of your thoughts. It creates a space where silence is not empty, but filled with a comforting presence. You are never alone in this soundscape, you are part of the quiet. It is a reminder that the rhythm of life continues effortlessly, allowing you to close your eyes and drift on the waves of sound. The forest fades away into a deep, comforting shade of black. The details of the leaves, the shimmer of the water, and the texture of the wood all gently dissolve into a uniform softness. Your vision blurs, not from strain, but from a total lack of need to see. The heaviness of your eyelids matches the heaviness of the humid air, closing naturally to shut out the world. You are no longer in the Amazon. You are floating in a void of pure comfort, suspended in the space between waking and sleeping. The gravity of the earth pulls you down, deeper and deeper, past the roots, past the stone, into the core of rest. Imagine yourself becoming mist, expanding and thinning until you are one with the dark, cool night. There is nothing left to hold on to, and nothing left to do. It is a final, gentle reminder that you are free to surrender completely, sinking into the deep, restorative peace of sleep. A slender green tendril curls gently around a branch in a slow embrace. It holds on with a grip that is firm but soft, securing its place in the canopy without any effort or strain. The plant has spent days reaching for this contact, and now that it has found it, there is a cessation of movement, a locking into place. The surface of the vine is smooth and cool, winding in a perfect helix that distributes the tension evenly along the wood. There is a sense of reliance here, a trust that the branch will hold the weight indefinitely. Imagine seeing this slow motion clasp, the green line wrapping around the brown bark in a gesture of connection. It suggests a bond that is unbreakable and patient, and not tied by nature itself. It is a reminder that you are supported by strong things, and you can hold on without having to struggle. White mist rises from the river to meet the cooling night air. The water is warmer than the atmosphere, creating a ghostly vapor that drifts upward in silent, twisting columns. These shapes move with a languid grace, dancing slowly over the dark surface of the current before dissipating into the trees. The mist softens the view of the far bank, turning the forest into a watercolor painting of grays and blacks. Dampness clings to everything, a heavy dew that settles on the skin and the leaves alike. Picture the steam curling off a cup of hot tea that expanded to the scale of a wide, dark river. It is a visual representation of heat leaving the earth, a release of energy into the void. It is a gentle reminder that you can release your own heat and tension. letting it drift away into the cool night. The texture of wet bark feels rough and solid beneath the hand. It is deeply furrowed, scarred by time and weather, yet softened now by a layer of slick moisture that coats every ridge. The tree stands as a massive pillar of stability, its surface a landscape of valleys and peaks that harbor tiny mosses and lichens. The wood is cool, radiating a stored temperature that is lower than the surrounding air, acting as a heat sink for the forest. There is a profound stillness in the subject, a refusal to move that anchors the entire scene. Imagine running your palm slowly down the side of a giant mahogany tree, feeling the friction and the dampness, the sheer reality of the wood. It grounds you in the physical world, taking you out of your mind and into the touch. It is a reminder that the world is solid and real, a sturdy place where you can rest your weight. A distant rumble of thunder rolls softly across the high canopy. It is a low, vibrating sound that is felt more than heard, a tectonic shift in the atmosphere that signals the power of the sky. The sound is not threatening, it is a lullaby, a heavy, rhythmic purr that travels for miles through the dense air. It speaks of rain that has fallen elsewhere, of a storm that has passed and left only this echo in its wake. The leaves tremble imperceptibly in response to the sound, absorbing the frequency into their fibers. Picture lying safe and dry within a shelter, listening to the storm moving far away on the horizon. The distance creates a feeling of coziness, a contrast between the power outside and the peace inside. It is a reminder that you are sheltered and safe, protected from the elements while you drift into sleep. A heavy palm frond bows deeply toward the earth in a graceful arch. The leaf is massive, a fan of pleated green that weighs several pounds, pulling the stem downward in a curve of surrender. It has collected the rain and the dew, adding to its burden, yet the plant bears this weight with a flexible strength. It does not snap, it bends, accepting the gravity and the water as part of its existence. The tip of the frond hovers just inches above the ground, almost touching the soil in a gesture of humility. Imagine the feeling of that heavy curve, the relaxation of the spine as it bends forward into a resting position. It suggests a release of tension in the back and the neck, a letting go of the need to stay upright. It is a gentle reminder that it is good to bow down, to lower your head, and to rest your heavy body. The air becomes a vacuum of silence, heavy and thick with stillness. In the deepest part of the night, even the insects cease their chorus, leaving a void that is filled only by the pressure of the atmosphere. The humidity creates a seal around the forest, a damp quiet that suppresses all vibration and movement. It feels as though the world has been paused, the tape stopped, the breath held. This is the 0 point of the night, the moment of maximum rest before the cycle begins again. Picture yourself suspended in this amber of silence, floating in a space where no sound exists. The quiet presses against your ears like soft cotton, blocking out the noise of the past and the future. It is a reminder that silence is a physical space you can enter, a sanctuary where your mind is finally free to stop working. You are drifting deeper into the green heart of the sleeper's world. The conscious mind releases its last grip on the shore, allowing the current of the night to take full control. The imagery of the forest, the leaves, the water, the mist begins to swirl together into a single, comforting texture of dark peace. There is no longer a need to visualize, for you have become part of the landscape, dissolved into the cool air and the soft earth. The journey is over, the destination of deep sleep has been reached. Gravity pulls you down into the warmth, covering you under the layers of safety and time. Imagine the lights going out one by one until there is only the feeling of being held. It is a final reminder that you have done enough. You are enough, and you may now sleep in perfect, eternal peace. A fallen log crumbles softly into the waiting earth. It gives way to the pressure of time, turning slowly into rich, dark soil over the course of silent years. The wood is damp and yielding, dissolving into the forest floor in a slow, microscopic transformation that happens entirely in the dark. Roots from above reach down to touch it, and soft fungi embrace it in a consuming hug. It is a seamless transition from form to formlessness, happening in the cool shadows where nothing is wasted. The air around it smells of deep musk and peat, a fragrance of heavy relaxation. Imagine pressing your hand into this soft, decaying wood, feeling it give way like a firm, cool pillow. It is warm and dark here, a place where everything is recycled into peace. The forest does not rush this process, it merely changes shape in the quiet. It is a reminder that you can soften and let go, becoming part of the gentle, supporting earth. Silt settles softly in the bottom of the dark river. The water above is heavy and slow, pressing down on the riverbed with a comforting liquid weight. Grains of sand and tiny fragments of leaves drift down through the current, landing in a slow-motion dust storm of silence. There is no light here, only the sensation of being held by the fluid pressure in a world of absolute calm. The mud is cool and smooth, a perfect bed that contours to whatever rests upon it, accepting the shape of the sleeper. The current flows overhead, a ceiling of movement that does not disturb the stillness below. Picture yourself resting at the bottom of this deep, slow river, looking up at the faint, rippling surface far above. You are anchored by the weight of the water, safe from the drift, cradled in the cool mud. It is a gentle reminder that deep below the surface, there is a place of absolute stillness where you can rest. The air itself turns into water on the cool leaves. The humidity is so high that the atmosphere hugs everything in a wet, heavy embrace, blurring the line between air and water. Droplets from out of thin air, beating on the skin of the forest, weighing down the spitterberries and the ferns until they droop. There is a sheet of moisture that covers the world, making everything glisten in the faint ambient light. The temperature is perfectly balanced, neither hot nor cold, just a heavy, damp presence that slows the pulsing, calms the nerves. It feels as though the forest is sweating in its sleep, releasing a cooling vapor that settles on the ground. Imagine the sensation of this cool mist settling on your face, weighing down your eyelids with its gentle moisture. It washes away the dryness of the day, leaving only a fresh, clean feeling of hydration. It is a reminder that the environment surrounds you with care, keeping you cool and heavy for sleep. Thousands of leaves overlap to form a solid green ceiling. They lock together like the scales of a giant, sleeping guardian, blocking out the stars and the moon in a protective shield. This roof is thick and impenetrable, catching the rain and the wind long before it reaches the ground where you rest. Beneath this shield, the air is still and protected, a private room carved out of the wilderness by the trees themselves. The structure of the canopy is complex and ancient, a web of branches that holds the sky at bay. Picture lying on your back and looking up at this dark, textured ceiling, knowing that nothing can fall through to disturb you. It creates a boundary between you and the infinite universe, keeping you tucked inside a smaller, safer space. The leaves are still heavy with sleep, guarding your rest. It is a reminder that you are covered and protected, safe to close your eyes beneath the shelter of peace. A faint blue glow pulses from the decaying wood. Deep in the shadows, where the light of the moon cannot reach, the earth creates its own illumination to guide the way to sleep. Tiny fungi emit a cold, ghostly light, marking the forest floor with constellations of soft, bioluminescent blue. It is a light without heat, a chemical whisper in the dark that exists only for the night. The glow is steady and dim, barely registering against the blackness, like a nightlight left on by the universe to keep you company. Imagine watching this bioluminescence fade in undoubted focus, a rhythmic pulsing that matches the slow cadence of your breathing. It is hypnotic and calm, a visual lullaby that tires the eyes in the most pleasant way. The light does not demand attention, it simply exists as a part of the magic. It is a gentle reminder that even in the deepest dark, there is a soft light to comfort you. A sleeping shape hangs suspended from a high branch. High above the floor, life hangs motionless, wrapped in fur and silence, blending perfectly with the moss. The grip is locked tight without effort, a permanent embrace of the tree that requires no energy to maintain. The breathing is so slow, it is almost imperceptible, a long pause between the inhale and the exhale. Gravity pulls at the shape, but the connection is secure, turning the pull into a comforting stretch of the spine. The surrounding leaves hide the sleeper, creating a nest of green shadows that sways gently in the breeze. Picture yourself curled up in this high, safe place, suspended in the air but held fast by a strength that does not tire. You are swinging gently, rocked by the movement of the tree, heavy to sleep. It is a reminder that you can hang your worries up and simply rest, supported by the strength of the night. The forest floor absorbs the last vibrations of the day. The ground is a sponge for sound and movement, drinking in the noise until only silence remains. The damp earth creates a buffer that isolates you from the world, creating a cocoon of sensory deprivation. The heaviness of the soil pulls you down, anchoring your body to the crust of the earth with a magnetic force. You are sinking past the roots, past the stones, into the dark, warm core of the plant. The surface is far above now, a distant memory of light and air that no longer matters. Imagine the sensation of sinking into warm, dark sand, feeling the weight of the earth piling up gently over you like a heavy, protective blanket. You are enveloped in safety, hidden in the deep geological time of the jungle. It is a final reminder that you are safe to let go of everything, drifting into the deep, restorative stillness of sleep. Time moves differently inside the heart of the great trees. Deep within the trunk, ring upon ring of hardwood marks the passage of centuries in a slow, silent expansion. The growth is invisible to the eye, a microscopic addition of strength that happens in the complete dark of the tree's core. The wood is dense and unyielding, a library of history compressed into a solid pillar of life. The sap moves sluggishly through these ancient channels, a slow pulse that beats once every season. Imagine pressing your ear against the rough bark and listening to the silence of this slow time. It is a stillness so profound that it slows your own heart to match its rhythm. The tree stands there, heavy and patient, asking for nothing but to exist in the quiet. It is a reminder that there is no need to rush, for true growth happens in the quiet stillness of rest. A heavy dew coats the world in a second skin of water. Every surface in the forest, from the smallest moss to the whitest leaf, is wrapped in this thin, cool layer of liquid. It acts as a seal, trapping the moisture and the scent of the earth close to the ground. The dew weighs everything down, making the ferns droop and the spitterbears sag in graceful, heavy curves. The light catches these billions of tiny droplets, turning the forest floor into a field of dark, glistening jewels. Picture the cool, wet sensation of the dew on your skin, a refreshing wash that cleanses away the heat and the dust of the day. It feels clean and pure, a baptism of the night that prepares the world for sleep. It is a gentle reminder that you are being washed clean, renewed by the gentle, heavy touch of the night. Scent is absorbed by the thick walls of the jungle. The density of the vegetation acts as a perfect acoustic dampener, absorbing every noise before it can travel far. There are no echoes here, only a soft, muted intimacy that wraps around you like a heavy blanket. The moss on the trees and the layers of decaying leaves on the ground catch the vibrations, smoothing them out into silence. Voices are hushed, and footsteps make no sound on the soft earth. Imagine speaking a word and watching it dissolve instantly into the green walls, disappearing into the quiet. It creates a private, insulated space where you are the only thing that exists. The silence is not empty, it is a thick, protective substance that fills the air. It is a reminder that you can retreat into your own quiet center, safe from the noise of the outside world. A faint breeze stirs the upper leaves without a sound. It is a ghost of a wind moving high in the canopy, causing the branches to sway in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The movement is gentle and rhythmic, like the rocking of a cradle by an invisible hand. The air that drifts down from this movement is cool and fresh, carrying the scent of rain from distant clouds. The forest is rocking itself to sleep, a vast, coordinated motion that is soothing to watch. Picture looking up at the dark silhouettes of the treetops swaying back and forth against the night sky. Back and forth, the metronome of peace that guides your breathing. The motion is effortless, driven by the soft breath of the atmosphere. It is a gentle reminder that you are being held and rocked, soothed by the gentle motion of the universe. Roots travel deeper than the height of the tallest tree. Beneath the soft, yielding floor of the forest, a second world exists, a tangled network of wood that anchors the earth together. These roots delve into the cool, dark soil, seeking water and stability in the absolute blackness of the underground. They are thick and strong, gripping the bedrock with a strength that defies the storms above. There is no light here, only the cool, damp embrace of the earth and the slow, powerful growth of the root system. Imagine your consciousness sinking down into this subterranean world, traveling along the roots deep into the ground. You are anchored heavy and immovable, safe from any wind that might blow. The earth holds you fast, a solid foundation that will never let you go. It is a reminder that you are grounded and secure, held tightly by the deep strength of the world. The river slows until it becomes a perfect black mirror. The current is widening and deepening, losing all its momentum until the water seems to stand still. It is a surface of polished obsidian, dark and flawless, reflecting the nothingness of the night with absolute clarity. There are no ripples to break the illusion. The water and the air have become one. The depth of the river is unfathomable, a cool abyss of peace that sits silently between the trees. Picture yourself floating on this glass surface, drifting without friction, moving without effort. The water supports you completely, a cold, heavy mattress that absorbs all your weight. You are gliding through the dark, guided by the silent flow of the deep water. It is a reminder that your mind can be this clear and this still, reflecting only the deep peace of the moment. The boundaries of your body dissolve into the humid night. The forest is no longer something you see, but something you are. The heavy air, the scent of the soil, and the darkness merge with your skin, erasing the lines between you and the world. You are melting into the atmosphere, becoming as weightless as the mist and as heavy as the stone. The conscious mind lets go of the last tether, drifting away into the vast, green ocean of sleep. There is no more thinking, only being. You are a part of the ancient, slow cycle of the Amazon, resting in the eternal shade of the trees. Imagine the final lights fading out, leaving only the warm, comforting velvet of the dark. You are safe, you are home, and you are asleep. It is a final reminder that you can surrender completely, sinking into the deep, restorative calm of the earth's embrace. A thick woody vine tightens its grip around the trunk in slow motion. It has spent 50 years completing this single embrace, winding its way up toward the canopy in a spiral of immense strength. The wood of the vine is hard and gnarled, fusing with the bark of the host tree until they are one solid entity. There is no struggle in this connection, only a permanent, static hold that anchors the forest together. The vine does not move, yet it is alive with a tension that holds the world upright. Imagine racing the path of this giant winding plant, feeling the roughness of the wood and the absolute security of its grip. It suggests a bond that cannot be broken, a safety that is locked in place by the passage of time. It is a reminder that you are held securely by forces stronger than yourself, and you do not need to let go. A pale mushroom cap pushes silently up through the damp soil. It emerges from the dark earth without a sound, a perfect dome of soft, white flesh appearing in the night. The structure is fragile yet persistent, powered by the hydration of the heavy rain. Beneath the cap, delicate gills form a complex, hidden pattern that no eye will ever see, a secret geometry of nature. The air around it smells of musk and rich decay, the scent of life transforming into new forms. Picture the slow, hydraulic pressure of the mushroom expanding, lifting a single fallen leaf as it rises. It is a movement so slow it looks like stillness, a quiet victory of softness over the hard ground. It is a reminder that gentle, soft things can rise easily in the dark, finding their place without force or noise. The ceiling of clouds lowers to touch the treetops. The sky has descended, bringing with it a blanket of gray mist that seals the heat of the day into the forest floor. These clouds are not storms, but thick layers of cotton wool that muffle the stars and the moon. The light is diffused into a uniform, shadowless gray, removing all sharp edges from the world. The atmosphere feels closer now, more intimate, as if the room of the world has become smaller and cozier. Imagine watching the white vapor weave through the upper branches, closing the curtains on the universe outside. You are wrapped in a cocoon of weather, protected from the vast emptiness of space. It is a gentle reminder that the world draws close to keep you warm, covering you with a soft, impenetrable shield. Black water stands motionless around the roots of the mangroves. Here, the land and the water are confused, merging into a swamp of deep, quiet peace. The roots search out of the water like the ribs of the earth, plunging back down into the silt to find stability. The water is ink black, stained by the tannins of the falling leaves, creating a surface that reflects nothing but the dark. There is no current here to push you. Everything is suspended in a state of liquid stasis. Picture yourself sitting among these roots, watching the black water settle into perfect flatness. It is a place of depth and mystery, where the heavy mud holds everything still. It is a reminder that you can sink into the deep, dark places of rest and find solid ground waiting to catch you. A single yellow leaf detaches and begins its long descent. It lets go of the branch without a sound, surrendering to the gentle pull of gravity. The air is so thick that the leaf rocks back and forth, cradled by the humidity as it falls in slow motion. It spirals downward, passing through layers of shadow and light, a lonely traveler returning to the earth. There is no rush to reach the bottom. The journey is the destination. Imagine watching this leaf fall for what feels like hours, a pendulum swinging softly in the void. It lands on the moss with a silence that is louder than noise, coming to a final, perfect rest. It is a gentle reminder that letting go is a slow and peaceful process, and the earth is always there to receive you. The visual world fades into a soft, monochromatic gray. The vibrant greens and the deep browns are drained away by the lack of light, leaving only shades and textures. The eyes stop searching for detail, for there is nothing left to analyze. The forest becomes a sculpture of shadows, a relief map of darkness that is easy on the mind. The visual noise is turned down to zero, and the other senses take over: the smell of the rain, the touch of the air, the sound of the hum. Picture the colors evaporating like mist, leaving you in a simple, quiet world of soft charcoal and slate. It is restful to look at nothing, to stare into the velvet gray and see only peace. It is a reminder that you can turn off your vision and look inward, where the darkness is warm and full of sleep. Gravity pulls you gently toward the center of the earth. The sensation of weight increases, but it is a comfortable heaviness, like a weighted blanket pressing you into the mattress. The forest floor seems to rise up to meet you, softening its contours to fit your body. You are sinking past the surface, past the worry, deeper into the geological stillness of the ground. The ancient rocks and the deep roots cradle you, holding you steady in the spinning universe. You are no longer separate from the Amazon. You are a stone, a root, a drop of water in the deep dark. Imagine the final release of all tension, the muscles turning to water, the mind turning to mist. You are safe, you are heavy, and you are gone. It is a final reminder that you have reached the place of absolute rest, and you may now sleep in the eternal embrace of the night. A single thread of silk spans the gap between two leaves. It is invisible until the moisture catches it, turning it into a necklace of heavy, liquid pearls. The web does not struggle against the weight. It simply stretches, a perfect arc of acceptance in the quiet night. The air around it is motionless, preserving the delicate balance between the water and the thread. There's no spider waiting, only the architecture of the silk hanging in the void. Imagine seeing this tiny, fragile mine holding the heavy droplets, glowing faintly in the dark. It is a suspension of physics, a moment where gravity is defied by softness. The thread sways imperceptibly with the breath of the forest, rocking the water to sleep. It is a reminder that even the most fragile things can hold deep weight without breaking, simply by being flexible. The skin of the tree is a landscape of deep valleys. Furrows of rough bark run vertically toward the sky, hard and cold to the touch. These ridges have stood against the rain and the sun for 100 years, hardening into a protective armor that shields the soft life inside. Moss fills the cracks, a soft green mortar that cushions the hardness of the wood. The texture is coarse and real, a tactile map of endurance that does not change. Picture running your fingertips over the grooves of the bark, feeling the history and the solidity of the trunk. It is cool and damp, grounding you in the physical reality of the moment. The tree is a solid wall at your back, a presence that will not move. It is a reminder that you are protected by ancient strength, and you can lean your full weight against it. Heavy perfume drifts slow along the forest floor. It comes from a flower that opens only for the moon, releasing a scent that is thick, sweet, and calming. The odor is not airy, it lies close to the ground, mixing with the smell of the wet soil to create a blanket of fragrance. It enters the senses slowly, a rich and encompassing aroma that signals the brain to stop thinking. The flower itself is hidden in the dark, a secret source of beauty that asks for no witness. Imagine inhaling this heavy scent, feeling it coat the inside of your lungs with a calming, floral weight. It weighs down the eyelids, making them feel heavy and relaxed. The scent is a chemical lullaby brewed by the forest to induce a deep trance. It is a gentle reminder that the air itself is filled with peace, and you have only to breathe it in. Distinct black shapes cut against the deep indigo sky. The leaves have lost their color, becoming silhouettes of pure rest against the faint light of the night. They form a complex, interlocking puzzle that blocks out the vastness of space, keeping the forest intimate and enclosed. There is no movement in these shapes, they are frozen in a tableau of sleep, etched permanently into the darkness. The contrast between the black leaves and the dark sky is soft, a blurring of edges that is easy on the eyes. Picture tracing the outline of a single palm frond against the night, following the jagged edge as it fades into the shadow. It is a visual anchor, a simple shape that requires no interpretation. The world has become a shadow play of stillness. It is a reminder that the details do not matter, only the comforting shape of the dark protecting you. A hollow beneath the roots offers a perfect, dry silence. The earth has been scooped away by time, creating a small cave tucked between the wooden pillars of the tree. Inside, the ground is dusted with dry powder and soft debris, a cozy pocket shielded from the dampness of the air. It is a natural womb, darkened and closed, where the noise of the forest cannot reach. The roots from a roof and walls, growing around the space to keep it safe. Imagine curling up in the small, earthen room, smelling the dry wooden, feeling the total absence of wind. You are hidden from every eye, tucked away in the deepest privacy of the jungle. The tray holds the earth up so you can rest beneath it. It is a reminder that the earth provides spaces of perfect safety where you can retreat and be held. A fresh mist begins to fall, touching the leaves with a whisper. It is not a storm, but a caress, a microscopic rain that hydrates the world without waking it. The sound is a faint, rhythmic hissing, like the static of a blank radio channel. It coats the forest in a new layer of cool water, washing away the heat of the yesterday. The mist is refreshing, a cold compress applied to the forehead, the gentle. Picture the tiny droplets landing on your skin, evaporating instantly to leave a sensation of cool relief. The air becomes easier to breathe, washed clean of dust and pollen. It is a cleansing ritual that happens every night, preparing the world for a fresh start. It is a reminder that you are being washed clean of all stress, cooled and soothed by the gentle touch of the water. The jungle closes over you like a warm, dark sea. You are at the bottom of the atmosphere, submerged in the encompassing, comforting weight of the air. The distance between the canopy and the floor feels like the depth of an ocean, and you are resting on the sandy bottom. The pressure is uniform and safe, holding your body together, preventing you from floating away. There is no light here, only the deep, resonant black of the deep sea. Imagine your body becoming heavy, denser than the air, sinking into the mattress of the earth. The currents of the wind flow far above you, but down here, everything is still. You are anchored heavy and asleep. It is a final, absolute reminder that you have reached the bottom of the night and there is nothing left to do but drift into the eternal, heavy peace of sleep. A single drop of nectar forms on the lip of a sleeping flower. It is thick and viscous, a golden bead of sweetness that hangs suspended in the dark. The liquid is heavy, distilled from the humidity in the sap, gathering slowly over the quiet hours of the night. It does not fall, it waits, caught in the tension of the surface, reflecting the faint glimmer of the moonless dark. The air around it is still, preserving this tiny sphere of fluid in perfect stasis. Imagine watching this droplet swell in slow motion, heavy and perfect, refusing to let go until the exact right moment. It captures the patience of the entire forest in a single point of amber light. It is a reminder that good things gather slowly in the silence, and you can wait without impatience for the release. Oh, it turns to soft sponge in the deep shadows. A high-fallen branch has lain here for a decade, slowly surrendering its form to the damper. The bark is dissolved into a dark, crumbly texture that feels like velvet to the touch. It is no longer hard or resisting. It has accepted the moisture in the moss, becoming one with the forest floor. The transformation is not sad. It is a peaceful transition, a softening of edges until the wood merges with the ground. Picture pressing your hand into this moss-covered log, feeling it give way gently under your weight, offering a soft place to rest. It smells of deep, rich peat and ancient rain. It is a gentle reminder that you can soften your own defenses, sinking comfortably into the support of the world around you. The river moves like a sheet of dark silk through the trees. It makes no sound as it slides over the deep channel, a massive volume of water moving with absolute, silent power. The surface is unbroken, a continuous flow of black liquid that carries the night downstream. There is no struggle against the banks, only a smooth, frictionless journey toward the ocean. The air above the water is cooler, a refreshing draft that rises to meet the hanging vines. Imagine floating on your back in this dark, silky current, your body completely supported by the density of the water. You are moving without moving, carried by a force that never tires. It is a reminder that you can stop swimming and simply float, trusting the current to take you where you need to go. A high wall of green vines blocks out the rest of the room. They hang from the canopy in a thick, tangled curtain, weaving together to form a barrier of pure nature. Behind this wall, there is a private space, a hidden pocket of air where the wind cannot reach. The leaves are broad and overlapping, creating a scale-like texture that seals the enclosure. The light inside is dim and green, filtered through layers of chlorophyll until it is soft and soothing to the eyes. Picture yourself stepping behind this curtain, entering a secret room that has been prepared just for you. The noise of the forest is muffled here, replaced by a quiet, rhythmic stillness. It is a reminder that you have a private sanctuary where you can retreat and be entirely alone with your peace. Tiny spores drift invisibly through the humid void. They are the dust of the forest, microscopic specks of life that float on the heavy air like travelers in a dream. They catch the faintest currents, spiraling slowly upward and downward in a dance of total weightlessness. They are so light that gravity has almost no hold on them. They exist in the space between the earth and the sky. The atmosphere is thick enough to support them, cradling them in a suspended state of waiting. Imagine becoming one of these tiny specks, letting go of all your mass and simply drifting in the dark. You are free from the pull of the earth, floating in a sea of cool vapor. It is a gentle reminder that you can cast off your heavy burdens and float freely in the quiet of the night. The temperature drops, settling a cool blanket over the ground. The heat of the day radiates away into the atmosphere, leaving behind a crisp, refreshing chill that signals the time for deep rest. This coolness is physical. It touches the skin and soothes the nerves, signaling the body to lower its energy. The leaves turn cold to the touch, and the stones hold a refreshing, icy quality. The air feels cleaner, sharper, and easier to breathe. Picture this wave of cool air washing over you, starting at your feet and moving slowly up to your head, extinguishing any remaining heat or tension. It feels like the flip side of a pillow, permanent and encompassing. It is a reminder that the world will always cool down, providing you with the perfect comfort you need to sleep. The darkness becomes a physical weight, pressing you down into the earth. It is not just the absence of light, it is the presence of a heavy, comforting shadow that fills the room. The canopy above, the soil below, and the air around you all merge into a single, dark substance that holds you fast. Your limbs feel heavy as if gravity has double just for you, pulling you deeper into the mattress of the forest floor. You are anchored, safe, and immovable. The visual world is gone, replaced by the feeling of being held by the night. Imagine sinking like a heavy stone into a deep, dark pool, going down, down, down into the silence. It is a final reminder that you are safe to let go of everything, surrendering to the deep, heavy, and eternal peace of the sleeper's world. Branches cross and lock together to form a solid wooden net. High above the forest floor, the limbs of the great trees reach out and grasp one another, weaving a ceiling that is thick and impenetrable. There is a structural certainty here, a mesh of wood that has held firm against the wind for generations. The bark is rough and dark, merging where the branches touch until the individual trees become a single, united entity. The sky is completely shut out, leaving only the protective, enclosed space of the understory. Imagine looking up at this complex grid of black against the faint gray of the night, seeing a roof that was built by nature to shelter you. It feels solid and permanent, a barrier that keeps the vastness of the universe at a comfortable distance. The forest is holding hands over your head, creating a fortress of peace. It is a reminder that you are covered and secure, protected by a strength that will never let you down. Long strands of moss hang motionless from the ancient, dark limbs. They dangle like heavy gray beards, weighed down by the moisture they have absorbed from the humid air. There's no wind to disturb them. They hang in perfect vertical lines, pointing straight down to the earth. These curtains of moss soften the outlines of the trees, turning hardwood into soft, fuzzy shapes that absorb the darkness. The texture is coarse yet yielding, a natural fabric that muffles sound and creates a feeling of insulation. Picture these heavy drapes of vegetation surrounding you, creating a series of soft walls that enclose your resting place. They are still and silent, obeying the pull of gravity with a total lack of resistance. It suggests a letting go of all tension, a simple hanging in the void. It is a gentle reminder that you can let your limbs go heavy and limp, surrendering completely to the pull of the earth. A brown leaf rests perfectly still on the sandy river bottom. It is sunk below the surface and settled onto the cool, white sand, held in place by the weight of the water above it. The current flows over it in a continuous, silky sheet, but the leaf does not move. It is anchored in the deep quiet of the bed. The water is crystal clear, distorting the moonlight into dancing lines on the sand. But down here, everything is static. There is a sense of being finalized, of having completed the journey and found a permanent place to rest. Imagine lying at the bottom of this clear stream, looking up through the distorted lens of the water at the world above. You are heavy and safe, shielded by the liquid barrier. It is a reminder that you can sink beneath the surface of your thoughts and find a quiet place where nothing moves. A giant lily pad floats heavily on the surface of the dark water. It is a massive green platter, rimmed with red, pushing down against the surface tension of the pool. The leaf is thick and buoyant, supporting its own weight in the weight of the dew that collects in its center. The water around it is black and still, a mirror that reflects the underside of the jungle canopy. Underneath the pad, thick veins anchor it to the deep mud, but on the surface, it simply floats. Picture the sensation of perfect buoyancy, of being held up by the water without having to swim or struggle. The pad rises and falls imperceptibly with the water level, always perfectly balanced. It suggests a state of total ease, where the environment does all the work. It is a gentle reminder that you are supported by the world, that you can float through the night with effortless grace. White fog rolls in to fill the spaces between the trees. It originates from the damp ground, rising up to erase the distance between the trunks. The fog is cool and opaque, a wall of soft white that limits vision to a few feet in front of you. This limitation is comforting. It removes the need to look ahead or behind, focusing your existence on the immediate, safe present. The air inside the fog is hushed and muffled, as if the world has been packed in cotton wool. Imagine walking into this cloud, feeling the cool vapor touch your face and watching the rest of the world disappear. You are alone in a white room of mist, hidden from everything. The isolation is not lonely, it is private and restorative. It is a reminder that the world can fade away, leaving you in a quiet, soft space where you can finally rest. A single beam of moonlight penetrates the dense canopy roof. It finds a rare gap in the leaves and travels down like a pillar of silver dust, illuminating a patch of ferns on the forest floor. The light is cold and pale, contrasting sharply with the surrounding sea of black shadows. Dust motes dance slowly within the beam, turning in the air like microscopic planets caught in a gravity well. The rest of the forest remains dark, respecting this single spotlight of silence. Picture yourself watching this beam of light, mesmerizing and slow, as it shifts imperceptibly across the ground with the movement of the moon. It is a silent clock, marking the passage of the night without a sound. The light is gentle, a soft touch from the sky. It is a reminder that even in the darkest night, a light watches over you, guiding you towards sleep. The gravity of the jungle pulls you deeper into the earth. The soil seems to soften beneath you, inviting you to sink past the surface and into the warm, dark history of the forest. The roots wrap around you not to trap you, but to hold you like a cradle. The weight of the air, the trees, and the shadows piles up on top of you, pushing you down into a state of heavy, immovable rest. You are becoming part of the geology, a stone resting in the deep strata of the night. The surface world is miles above, a distant memory that no longer concerns you. Imagine the feeling of sinking into warm, dark velvet, going down, down into the core of peace. There's no bottom to this relaxation, you just keep sinking. It is a final reminder that you are safe to let go of everything, drifting into the deep, restorative stillness of the earth's embrace. A velvet twig rests against the rough bark in total stillness. The pattern on the wing is a map of the forest shadows, camouflaged perfectly against the dark wood of the tree. It landed here hours ago and has not moved a fraction of an inch since, becoming one with the silence. The air around it is undisturbed, respecting the deep dormancy of the sleeping creature. It is heavy with rest, its antenna folded back, its energy conserved entirely for the quiet night. The humidity clings to the soft fur of the wings, weighing them down into a permanent posture of relaxation. Imagine seeing the intricate, dusty texture of this wing, motionless and soft in the dark, a masterpiece of stillness. It demands nothing and seeks nothing, content simply to exist on the side of the tree. It is a gentle reminder that you can stop moving completely, blending seamlessly into the quiet world around you. The scent of wet stone rises slowly from the deep ravine. It is a mineral smell, cold and ancient, released by the water touching rocks that have been dry for days. This fragrance travels low to the ground, heavier than the air, filling the hollows of the forest with the perfume of geology. The air breathes it in, becoming crisp and sharp, clearing the mind of any fog or heat. It is the smell of the earth being washed, a purification that happens in the dark. The humidity carries the scent deep into the lungs, cooling the body from the inside out with every slow breath. Picture the invisible vapor rising from the gray stones, a cool mist that smells of clean water and deep time. It washes over you, grounding you in the bedrock of the forest. It is a gentle reminder that the earth is constantly renewing itself, and you can breathe in this fresh, new peace. A thick rope of liana hangs loosely in the humid void. It is suspended from a branch 100 feet above, dangling down to touch the forest floor in a long, vertical line. There is no tension in the vine. It has found its resting length and simply hangs there, obeying the pull of gravity. The bark is rough and twisting, but the posture is one of total relaxation and surrender. The wind nudges it lightly, and it sways in a long, slow pendulum mark that measures the passing of the night. It does not resist the air. It moves with it, heavy and loose. Imagine the feeling of being that suspended vine held securely from above, your feet just grazing the soft earth below. You are swinging gently in the dark, supported by the canopy. It is a reminder that you are held by a strength above you, allowing your body to hang heavy and loose. The vibrant green of the canopy deepens into a restful blue. The chlorophyll that drinks the sun during the day shuts down its work, allowing the shadows to claim the leaves completely. The definition of the forest fades, creating a soft, blurry wall of darkness that surrounds you on all sides. It is a visual silence, a removal of stimulation that tells the eyes they are no longer needed for the night. The darkness is not empty. It is a rich, velvet substance that fills the space between the trees, cushioning everything in soft shade. Picture the color draining out of the world, replaced by a warm, heavy darkness that wraps around your shoulders like a shawl. The world is soft to the touch and soft to the sight. It is a gentle reminder that the visual world has gone to sleep, and you are free to close your eyes and join it. Cool mud settles into the shape of the river bank. It is smooth and slick, polished by the ceaseless flow of the water until it is perfect and glass-like. The clay is dense and heavy, holding the cold of the water within its compact structure. It accepts the imprint of a falling leaf or a resting stone without resistance, molding itself to support whatever touches it. There is a deep earthy coolness here that radiates upward, calming the air and settling the dust. The mud is a solid, heavy bed that does not shift or move under pressure. Imagine pressing your hand into this cool, yielding clay, feeling the earth shape itself to fit you perfectly. It feels substantial and grounding, connecting you to the planet. It is a reminder that the earth is soft and ready to receive your weight, holding you comfortably while you rest. A pause opens up in the rhythm of the night sounds. Between the call of the insect and the drop of the water, there is a moment of absolute silence that stretches out. It is a gap in the fabric of the noise, a breath taken by the forest itself before it continues. This silence expands, pushing back the hum and the drone, creating a pocket of void that feels vast and empty. It is in this space that true rest is found, a suspension of all activity and time. The air hangs motionless in this interval, waiting for nothing, demanding nothing. Picture diving into this gap of silence, expanding the moment until it becomes a vast, quiet room where you can float. It is a vacuum of peace. It is a reminder that beneath the noise of life, there is an eternal silence where you can always find peace. The roots of the mountain hold you deep within the earth. You have traveled past the canopy, past the floor, and are now cradled in the geological heart of the jungle. The pressure here is immense and comforting, 1,000,000,000 tons of rock and soil protecting you from the surface world. There is no light, no sound, and no time in this deep place. You are anchored in sleep, held in a stasis that feels like it will last forever. The warmth of the earth permeates your bones, making you heady and slow, dissolving your shape into the stone. Imagine that you are a seed that has been planted deep in the dark, safe and dormant, waiting for nothing. You are anchored to the core of the planet. It is a final reminder that you have arrived at the center of peace, and you may now surrender to the deepest sleep of all. Thick amber sap moves invisibly through the dark heart of the tree. It travels deep within the wood, a golden river of life that flows in slow motion beneath the bark. The liquid is viscous and heavy, carrying the energy of the forest in a sluggish, rhythmic pulse that matches the rotation of the earth. The tree does not rush this movement, it allows the sap to rise and fall with the seasons, patient and steady. The wood surrounding the channel is hard and cool, protecting its vital flow from the outside world. Imagine seeing this hidden river inside the trunk, a glowing vein of honey moving inch by inch in the absolute dark. It suggests a life that is deep, internal, and incredibly slow. The movement is so subtle it feels like stillness, a state of being rather than doing. It is a reminder that your own energy can slow down, flowing thickly and calmly toward a place of deep rest. A smooth gray stone rests eternally on the silent riverbed. It has sat in this exact spot for 1,000 years, polished by the ceaseless flow of the water until it is perfectly round. The river glides over it in a continuous, silky sheet, but the stone does not move. It is anchored by its own weight in the cool sand. The water is dark and heavy, pressing down on the stone with a comforting liquid pressure. There is no friction here, only the gentle, slippery touch of the current washing over the hard surface. Picture the water moving around the stone, parting effortlessly and joining again on the other side. The stone remains centered and still, unaffected by the rush of the world. It is a gentle reminder that you can remain heavy and still, letting the currents of life flow past you without sweeping you away. White petals unfurl in slow motion against the velvet dark. A night-blooming cactus opens its flower to the moon, a rare and private event that happens only in the deepest silence. The petals are thick and waxy, glowing with a faint, ghostly luminescence in the shadows. As they open, they release a heavy, sweet perfume that hangs low in the humid air, scenting the night with peace. The flower moves with a deliberately slow grace, stretching out its petals to embrace the cool air. Imagine inhaling this rich, floral scent, feeling it coat your lungs with a heavy, soothing weight. It signals the brain that the time for activity has passed, and the time for beauty and rest has arrived. The flower exists only for the night. It is a reminder that beauty blooms in the quiet dark, waiting for you to find it in your dreams. The atmosphere presses down with a gentle, liquid weight. The humidity in the rainforest is so high that the air feels like a heavy blanket, swaddling the earth in moisture. It supports every movement, slowing down the falling leaves and cushioning the swaying branches. Walking through this air would feel like moving through deep water, every gesture slow and deliberate. The pressure is uniform and safe, holding your body together and preventing you from floating away. The temperature is locked in a warm, damp stasis that mimics the conditions of the womb. Picture yourself floating in this thick sea of air, weightless yet held firmly by the density of the environment. You are suspended in the breath of the forest. It is a reminder that the environment holds you up, taking the burden of gravity away so you can float freely. Green velvet covers the hard edges of the fallen wood. Moss grows thick and deep on the forest floor, transforming every rough surface into a soft, rounded shape. It absorbs the sound of the rain and the wind, acting as a natural sound priming for the sleeper's world. The texture is deep and spongy, holding gallons of water in its tiny fibers, keeping the world cool and damp. Nothing here is sharp or rigid. Everything has been claimed by the softness of the moss, turned into a gentle curve of green. Picture reaching out to touch this damp, fuzzy surface, feeling your fingers sink slightly into the deep pile of the vegetation. It feels cool and getting a pillow provided by the earth itself. It is a reminder that the world can be soft and yielding, offering a comfortable place for you to lay down your heavy burdens. Shadows merge to form a single, unbroken blanket of black. The distinction between the trees, the ground, and the sky vanishes completely as the night deepens. The visual world shuts down, leaving only a vast, unified field of darkness that wraps around you like a warm coat. There are no shapes to analyze, no movements to track, only the comforting presence of the void. The darkness is a substance, not an emptiness. It is thick, velvety, and protective, filling every corner of the forest. Imagine this blackness flowing over you like a tide, extinguishing the lights of the mind one by one. You are hidden, safe, and invisible in the deep shade. The forest keeps watch so you do not have to. It is a gentle reminder that darkness is not a place of fear, but a safe, warm space where you are free to close your eyes. Gravity claims you completely, pulling you into the deep earth. The sensation of weight becomes absolute, a comforting heaviness that anchors you to the core of the planet. You are sinking past the roots, past the stones, past the water tables, into the solid, warm geology of the world. The earth wraps around you, a heavy cocoon of safety that will not let you go. Your breathing slows to match the tectonic rhythm of the ground, deep and infrequent. You are no longer separate from the Amazon. You are part of its ancient, sleeping foundation. Imagine the final release of all effort, the muscles turning to water, the mind turning to mist. You have reached the bottom of the night. It is a final reminder that you are safe to let go of everything, drifting into the deep, restorative oblivion of the earth's eternal embrace. A silver web hangs heavy with the moisture of the deep night. It spans the gap between two ancient ferns, bowing low under the burden of 1,000 tiny beads of water. The silk is invisible, revealed only by the liquid pearls that cling to it in a perfect, glowing shade. There is no movement here, only the tension of the water holding onto the thread, waiting for gravity to claim it. The air is still and cool, preserving this delicate architecture in a state of suspended animation. Imagine seeing a web glisten in the faint light, a necklace of water draped across the darkness of the undergrowth. It sways imperceptibly, rocking the droplets in a slow, hypnotic rhythm that marks the passage of time. The structure is fragile, yet it holds the weight of the night with absolute grace. It is a reminder that you can be soft and delicate, yet still hold your ground in the quiet. The sound of rain creates a wall of static around the forest. It falls in a steady, gray curtain, a vertical river that connects the sky to the earth in a ceaseless flow. The noise is constant and uniform, a hiss of white noise that drowns out every sharp sound and every thought. The water strikes the leaves with a soft, rhythmic patter, creating a texture of sound that is thick and comforting. The air cools down as the rain falls, washing away the humidity and leaving a fresh, clean scent of wet stone. Picture this wall of sound wrapping around you, isolating you in a private bubble of safety where the world cannot reach. You are dry and warm on the inside, listening to the cleansing power of the storm on the outside. It is a reminder that the noise of the world is washed away, leaving only the peace of the rain. A giant leaf creates a dry sanctuary beneath its expansive green arch. High above the forest floor, this single sheet of vegetation acts as a roof, diverting the rain and the dew away from the space below. The underside of the leaf is dry and dusty, a stark contrast to the wet world outside. It creates a pocket of stillness where the air is warm and protected, a natural tent pitched in the wilderness. The ribs of the leaf are like the beams of a house, strong and structural, holding the shelter open against the weight of the water. Imagine sitting in this dry, quiet hollow, hearing the rain drumming on the roof but feeling none of it. You are small and hidden, tucked away in the architecture of the plant. It is a reminder that you are sheltered and covered, protected from the elements by the strength of nature. Layers of Peat softened the ground into a deep, yielding mattress. The soil here is not hard earth, but a composition of a million fallen leaves that have turned into soft, dark sponge. It gives way under the slightest pressure, absorbing weight and sound into its deep, history-filled layers. It smells rich and musky, the scent of old wood and deep time that triggers a primal feeling of comfort. The ground holds the coolness of the night, radiating a refreshing chill that seeps into the body. Picture pressing your hand into this deep, soft floor, feeling it mold to your shape like memory foam made of earth. It supports you completely, taking the strain off your muscles and joints. It suggests a sinking down, a return to the horizontal. It is a reminder that the earth is soft and ready to catch you, holding you comfortably while you rest. Spaces between the branches are filled with a thick, cooling shadow. Where the leaves do not touch, the darkness pools like heavy water, occupying the voids with a dense, velvet silence. These gaps are not empty, they are filled with the absence of light, a substance that rests the eyes and calms the mind. The structure of the forest is defined not by the wood, but by these pockets of shadow that separate the trees. The air in these spaces is still and quiet, untouched by the wind that moves the canopy. Imagine floating in one of these dark voids, suspended in the space between the solid things. You are weightless, hidden in the negative space of the jungle, invisible to the world. The darkness wraps around you, a soft insulation against the sensory overload of the day. It is a reminder that emptiness is peaceful, a space where you can simply exist without needing to be anything. Hey Hard Seed sleeps comfortably in the cool, dark mud below. It has buried itself in the sediment, stopping all movement and growth to enter a state of deep, patient hibernation. The shell is thick and protective, keeping the life inside safe from the water and the insects. It lies perfectly still, waiting for a signal that may not come for years, content to rest in the meantime. The mud around it is heavy and sealing, locking the seed in a capsule of silence and darkness. Picture the absolute stillness of this tiny object, buried deep in the earth, doing absolutely nothing but resting. It feels the weight of the forest above it, a comforting pressure that keeps it grounded. It demands no energy, no action, no thought. Here's a reminder that it is safe to wait, to stop growing for a while, and simply sleep in the dark. The current carries the night away in a slow, silent procession. The river has become a conveyor belt of darkness, moving the water, the leaves, and the reflections toward the horizon without a sound. The flow is smooth and inevitable, a force that cannot be stopped but does not rush. The surface is a sheet of black glass, sliding past the banks in a hypnotic, continuous motion. There is no friction, no splashing, only the silent slide of volume moving through space. Imagine dissolving into this flow, your body turning into liquid and joining the river. You are drifting downstream past the trees, past the stars, moving toward the vast, open ocean of sleep. There's no effort required to move, the river takes you. It is a final reminder that you can stop steering and simply drift, trusting the current to carry you to peace. High massive trunk stands as a dark pillar of time. It rises from the earth like a wall of solid shadow, broad and immovable, anchoring the canopy to the ground. The bark is inches thick, a rugged armor of deep fissures and rough plates that has withstood centuries of storms. Inside, the wood is dense and silent, a reservoir of stillness that absorbs the vibrations of the forest. There is no sway in this part of the tree. It is the static core of the jungle, fixed in place by roots that go down as deep as the tree is tall. Imagine leaning your back against this giant, feeling the absolute solidity of the wood supporting your spine. It is a presence that feels like stone, warm and alive but utterly still. It is a reminder that you have a strong, unshakable support behind you, allowing you to rest your full weight without fear. Lights and settles on the dark river floor. Deep beneath the black water, the riverbed is lined with fine, pale grains that have finished their journey downstream, They lie in a perfect, smooth expanse undisturbed by the slow current drifting miles above them. There is no friction here, only the soft, cool touch of the water pressing the sand into a compact layer. The darkness is absolute, hiding the white floor in a secret, submerged beach of silence. Picture yourself as a single grain of sand, drifting down through the water and landing softly among the billions of others. You are small, heavy, and at rest, held in place by the gentle pressure of the depths. It is a gentle reminder that you can settle down, finding your place in the quiet foundation of the world. Aerial roots dangle in the humid silence. They hang from the high branches like tangled ropes, reaching slowly for the ground they have not yet touched. These roots are suspended in the air, living in the space between the sky and the soil, absorbing moisture directly from the mist. They are motionless, drawn into straight vertical lines by the pull of the earth. The texture is fibrous and dry, swaying only when the deep breath of the forest stirs the air. Imagine moving through a curtain of these hanging roots, feeling them brush softly against your shoulders like the strings of a heavy instrument. They create a cage of soft bars, enclosing you in a protected space. It is a reminder that you can hang on and let go at the same time, suspended safely in the quiet air. Thy hard shell protects the sleeping life within. Resting on a broad leaf, a beetle sits perfectly still, its legs tucked tight against its body. Its carapace is smooth and dark, shining faintly with a blue iridescence in the moonlight. This hot outer layer creates a fortress for the creature, shielding it completely from the damp and the cold. Inside the shell, everything is soft and dormant, waiting for the morning. The creature does not move, it trusts its armor implicitly. Picture the smooth, cool surface of that shell, a perfect shield that deflects the world. You are safe inside your own shell, tucked away from the demands of the outside. It is a reminder that you have built a safe place for yourself, and within that protection, you are free to sleep deeply. The air grows heavy with the scent of green. It is a thick, vegetable perfume, the smell of chlorophyll and sap releasing into the cooling night. This is the breath of the plants, a rich oxygen that feels substantial when you inhale. It tastes of life and water, filling the lungs with a heavy, nourishing vapor that slows the heart. The scent is not sharp, it is round and deep, settling low to the ground where you rest. Imagine breathing in this green air, feeling it spread through your chest like a cooling liquid. It connects you to the biology of the forest, sustaining your rhythm with the slow respiration of the trees. It is a gentle reminder that the world is breathing for you, and you can simply ride the waves of its breath. And so, we drift to the end of our quiet journey through the lungs of our world. We leave behind the emerald canopy and the winding rivers that carve through the earth like ancient veins. The relentless complexity of the rainforest softens into a singular, comforting hum. It reminds us that life flourishes without urgency, a vast cycle of breath and growth that continues whether we watch it or not. You can rest now, knowing the earth is strong enough to hold everything together while you sleep. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. There's nothing left to explore tonight, nothing left to solve. Just breathe. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the gentle rhythmic rains of the Amazon cradle your dreams. Good night.